Welcome back once again, all of my low carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today I have another very easy, very delicious keto Christmas cookie recipe for you. Today we are going to learn how to make Spritzgebach or Spritz Christmas cookies. Now, Spritz cookies, they're pretty similar to butter cookies. The biggest difference is that butter cookies generally do not contain eggs, and Spritz cookies do contain eggs and a little bit more butter. So as a result, they have a more rich, buttery texture and flavor, and they are more of a firm textured cookies rather than a crispy cookie. So if you want a printable version of this, you can check out my website at janetsdeliciousLowCarbKitchen.com. You can find a printable version of this recipe and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of easy, delicious keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out videos every Wednesday and Saturday. And if you'd like to help support the channel, make sure you scroll down in the description of the video. You'll see some affiliate links. Anytime you purchase anything using those affiliate links, a small portion of your purchase will go to me and help support the channel. So, while you do all that, let's get cooking. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Line 2 large baking sheets with parchment paper and set them aside for a minute. In a large mixing bowl, combine 118 grams or around 1 cup of coconut flour, 125 grams or around 2/3 cup of the granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. You can use whatever sweetener you want. You can also use more or less according to how sweet you want your cookies. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 8 grams or around 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Sift or whisk these all together until they're fully combined and there are no lumps in the dry ingredients. Now, if you don't have xanthan gum or don't want to use xanthan gum, you can omit the xanthan gum and just use an extra egg when we add our eggs in. Add 2 large room temperature eggs. Make sure they are room temperature so that they stir in more smoothly. Stir the eggs into the dry ingredients until they're fully combined and all the dry ingredients have been moistened with the eggs. Now again, as I just said, if you chose to keep the xanthan gum out of your dry ingredients, you will need to add 1 more egg, which means you will need a total of 3 eggs. Add 3/4 cup of room temperature butter that's been softened. Make sure it's just softened, not melted. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract or the extract of your choice, whatever flavor you're wanting these cookies to be. That would be the flavor of extract you would add. You would also use more or less depending on how strong you want the flavor. Stir everything together until it is fully combined. Add 1/4 cup of warm water and stir it in until everything is fully combined and you have a soft, smooth dough. Now, if you chose not to use the xanthan gum in your dry ingredients and you added that extra egg instead, then you will not need the warm water. The warm water is there to help the xanthan gum blend into the other ingredients better. Xanthan gum can clump up very easily, so you want to add that extra water with the xanthan gum so that it can bind the ingredients together better and you have a smooth, soft dough. Also, if you want to, you can add a couple drops of food coloring to the dough. If you want your cookies to be a different color, that's up to you how you want your cookies to look. I'm just leaving them a neutral color. Scrape down the sides of the bowl and push the dough to the center of the bowl. Form the dough into a smooth ball. Then massage the dough ball for about 30 seconds or so. This is just to test the texture. When you are massaging the dough, there should be no dough crumbling off of the dough ball, and it should not be sticking to your fingers at all. If it's sticking to your fingers, then you need to add a tiny bit more coconut flour. If it's crumbly, then you need to add a tiny bit more warm water. After you've massaged the dough, take a small portion of the dough in your hand and roll it into a tight, smooth ball. This is just taking an extra step and testing the texture, making sure that you have the right texture for your cookies. The dough should easily come together into a small, smooth, tight ball. It should not be crumbling and it should not be sticking to your hands. Once you know you have the right texture, you can either fill a piping bag or piping gun with the cookie dough and just pipe it out into your desired shapes. Or you can just scoop the dough out 1 tablespoon at a time and place it onto your prepared baking sheet. Then you can just form it and press it out to whatever shape that you want it to be. If you do choose to use a piping gun or a piping bag, make sure that your piping tip is a wide piping tip. This is a thicker dough. Coconut flour dough tends to be a little bit thicker, so you will need to make sure that your piping tip is a wide tip. I'm using the wide star tip for my piping gun. Everybody's piping tips are different, so as I said, just look for a wide piping tip. When you shape these on your baking sheet, make sure you spread them out about 1.5 inches or so apart. These are gluten-free, so they really don't spread or puff up a whole lot. They puff up a little bit, but not a whole lot. So you don't have to spread them super far apart, but you do want to give them space so that you have some even cooking. Also, if you are wanting a more crispy cookie, basically the thinner you press your cookie out, the more of a crispy texture you're going to have. Coconut flour cookies really don't get crunchy crispy because of the amount of liquid you have to use in it, but you still can get a very firm, fairly crispy cookie. You just have to press it out fairly thin. Once your cookies are all shaped, place them in your preheated oven and bake at 375 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes or until the cookies are golden around the edges. Once they're done baking, remove them from the oven. If you want to, immediately sprinkle the cookies with some colored sweetener. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll show you how to make your own very quick keto colored sweetener. Then allow the cookies to cool on the pan for about 15 minutes so that they can firm up really well. After 15 minutes, transfer the cookies to a wire rack and allow them to cool completely. Once the cookies have cooled completely, place them on a serving platter and you can serve them immediately. If you do have any leftovers, store them in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 1 week. Eat and enjoy. For the keto colored sugar substitute, in a small bowl, place 96 grams or around 1/4 cup of the granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. You use whatever granulated sweetener you want. I'm also making 2 different colors, so I'm putting half of the sweetener in one small bowl and half of the sweetener in another small bowl, or in my case, I'm using jars. Add 2 to 3 drops of the food coloring of your choice. Then use a fork and stir the food coloring into the sweetener until all the sweetener is fully coated with the coloring. Spread the sweetener out in a flat layer onto a lined baking sheet and let it dry at room temperature for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the sweetener is fully dry. Once your sweetener is dry, you can use it immediately to decorate your cookies or anything else you want to use it to decorate with. Or you can store it in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 1 week. If you do choose to store it, make sure every day you take a fork and stir it up really well. That way you can avoid it. You can avoid the sweetener clumping together on you. Eat and enjoy. And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you click that thumbs up like button, click that subscribe button, leave me a comment if you want to. Let me know if there's any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.